Hi, everybody. This is Dan Stolberger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It's the week of April 17th. And as the sun goes down tonight, we'll be remembering the Holocaust. Holocaust Memorial Day. Make sure, by the way, that you grab the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this YouTube presentation. There's a link on the YouTube page for it, or you can go to our website, holygroundexplorations.com. Let's jump in. Our news bites this week. This is from the IDF. Israel's closer to war than calm. And this is the IDF Intel that warns Israelis and government and etc. that security tensions are not dissipating whatsoever as Ramadan comes to an end. I know the protests continue with judicial reform. Doesn't seem to be slowing down, so it's a red light warning. The economy minister Nir Berkat notes that the terror victim, Lucy D's family, made the decision when she passed that they would donate her organs. And I just think the contrast needs to be pointed out where an Israeli's donating her organs that was murdered by a terrorist, and the terrorist will be receiving upwards to $1 million. Let that one sink in for a moment. Polls are out telling us something we probably already know, that anti-Semitism is showing a sharp increase. There's just a viral hatred against Jews. And in the U.S. here, anti-Semitism is growing both on the left as well as the right, according to a new study. And this was just released on the eve of Holocaust Remembrance Day. The Golan Heights may once again come into play because the Arab world is voting to restore Syria into the Arab League of Nations. And if that's the case, this is going to, because for the Syrians, obviously, the Golan is, quote, occupied. And if there is a normalization between these Arab nations, Syria may eventually put the Golan Heights back in the spotlight. And then, you know, growing up, I always loved Fiddler on the Roof, and who knew? But Tevye, his family just revealed the fact that he secretly worked for the Mossad. They revealed this just after his death. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look at our major articles for today, as we look back over the last week. The reality is that, as the IDF mentioned, war seems to be increasingly probable. The bottom line is, different quotes, war is much more closer than peace, and Iran is more self-confident, forging new agreements with Arab countries. In the Middle East, America is no longer the same America as it was. The Iranians have taken notice to this, and again, with the self-imploding of at least perception of Israel under this major protests and judicial reform, tensions are simmering. And there could be an explosion of terrorism. Again, we've got this threat of multi-fronts, whether it's Hezbollah to the north with their massive storehouse of rockets and missiles. Now Syria's in play with the Golan Heights. And then we, of course, always have Hamas on the border of Egypt to the south. And as we've talked in the past, what happens when all of these groups make a coordinated effort against Israel? And again, I think that goes into our next slide, which is really Iran's strategy. And we've got, as I mentioned, make sure you grab the PDF PowerPoint, because you'll see on the map where Lebanon's located. And we've talked about their rockets and missiles, and now they have precision missiles, over 150,000 of these. And again, just a visual to see the Golan Heights as well as Gaza. And so Israel must find the right way and the right time to respond to this multi-front threat. Obviously, the last word has not yet been said, and I believe Israel is currently reorganizing to thwart Iran's phased plan. What I'm reading and hearing is even though Israel is seeking the U.S.'s aid and help, more than likely they're going to go it alone if need be. And we're hearing more and more of this. As I mentioned, the Saudis, the Arab world seems to be coming together, excluding Israel. So we're no longer looking at the Abrahamic Accords, normalization. The Saudis have just restored, we know they've restored their ties with Iran, and now it appears that they're kind of burying the hatchet or the sword with Hamas. And so the entity that's left outside of this circle, of course, is Israel. Any normalization with the Saudis and Israel seems to be off the table at this particular time. We reported on this a couple weeks ago, but because of the massive earthquakes that took place in Turkey and sort of that northern Syria border as well, there's been some concerns about aid that's coming from Iran. And this article just out that Iran has transported weapons, no big surprise here, weapons and military equipment to Syria on flights that were supposed to be bringing in humanitarian aid after February's devastating earthquakes. And again, when we read about these Israeli Air Force strikes in northern Syria, it's based upon these pictures. You're going to see it's not aid that's coming, it's military equipment that's being smuggled in and handed off to Hezbollah or the rebels in Syria whatsoever. I guess they're available to anybody else that hates Israel. And so just wanted you to get caught up on the humanitarian aid that's coming out of Iran. Okay, again, Benny Gantz is rising. The National Unity Party, headed by Gantz, would easily form the largest party in the Knesset right now. If elections were held today, polls in Israel indicate that Benny Gantz would have a governing coalition that essentially would replace Likud. Likud's has fallen, again, according to these polls. They have 64 seats. The polls indicate they would now have 52. That's a massive drop. And Gantz's party looks as if they would surpass Likud. The polls indicate that they would have 28 seats to Likud's 24 seats. And then asked whether Netanyahu or Benny Gantz was the most suitable to be prime minister, 34% of the respondents chose Bibi, but 39% preferred Gantz. And so this climate in Israel, the political climate, continues to be very shaky at this time. And now that Ramadan's come to an end and Passover, where there should be a calm, as I've already mentioned, this massive protests are still going on. Again, as we've reported over the last few months regarding all of this, the goal on the left is very simple. It's not about judicial reform and the fear of what's being proposed. Bottom line, all of this has taken place to get Bibi out of office. That's the bottom line. And it's been reported that the U.S., big surprise here, Joe Biden's administration, have been kind of funding some of these massive protests in Israel. 4 Republican senators, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Tom Cotton, and Bill Hagerty, have blasted the State Department for funneling taxpayers' money to this movement, and they're calling for an immediate cease of funding for these. And then Holocaust, as we've mentioned, the Palestinians got a problem with the Holocaust. The Palestinian Authority has, they have to pick which ones they want to accept here. On one hand, the Palestinians deny that the Holocaust ever happened, or at the very least, that the numbers of Jews that were murdered were grossly, entirely exaggerated. But on the other hand, the Palestinian Authority uses the Holocaust to compare Israel to the Nazis and to accuse Israel of conducting a Holocaust against the Palestinians. One of the most outrageous lies that have been coming to the surface lately is that the Palestinians this year made the statement that Jews were actually trained by the Nazis in concentration camps to kill, to be able to kill without feeling any emotions or anything, and that the Germans would then deliberately free Jews from concentration camps just to sort of prepare them for their combat against the Arabs in Palestine. Yeah. I wish it was a joke, but that's the truth. Again, with it being International Holocaust Remembrance Day, just a reminder, never forget. If you've been to Israel with us, you know the difficulty we have of, I always say that the one day that's the hardest to judge time is the day that we visit Yad Vashem. That name simply means remember the names, Yad Vashem. And for some people, an hour is too much. And for other people, 4 hours is not enough. So it's a difficult experience. And needless to say, on this day, may we never forget, and may we always remember the names. Well, that's our report for this week. As you know, we're excited to have a couple tours now on the book. You can go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com. This fall, we're doing Journeys with Paul. That's going to be October 1 through 12. We'll visit Athens and Ephesus and Philippi and Troas and Smyrna and Pergamum and Berea, Thessalonica, Corinth, and we'll end in Rome. So if you've never been on a footsteps of Paul sort of journey, please consider coming with us. Again, the dates are October 1 through 12, all the information on our website. And then we now have some new dates for our next Israel tour. It'll be early spring, Revealing Israel, and it will be February 21st through March 1st. And so, again, that has not yet been put up, but will be on our website this week. So, but save the date, February 21 through March 1st of 2024 will be Holy Ground's next explorations journey to Israel. So pray about joining us. Life-changing, no doubt. God bless you. Shalom. Remember, never forget, and be praying for the peace of Jerusalem. God bless.